There, I just did it to myself. Hopefully that time delay will bust me. If you've ever seen us over on Mission Critical Podcast, it's at least once, if not twice, in an episode. Mark, your mic is muted. Hey, all of you wonderful freedom-loving boys and girls, men and women. Mark, Centerline Systems, welcome to our live stream. Hey, today is Thursday. Yeah, Thursday, the 7th of March. Doing a live stream here. We're going to talk about our everyday carry belts that we make, both for us at Centerline Systems and for Jacket Black Scout Survival. And if everything goes to plan, we're even going to be joined by a guest who's going to remind everybody that a belt does way more than just hold up your pants. And if you've noticed in some of the live streams, I kind of just buy a little bit of time at the beginning to give some people a chance to get on and whatever platform you're on, whether it's, Twitter, X, Rumble, or over on ScrewTube. So I just want to say a couple little things real quickly. First, I think I'm going to start doing these live streams on Mondays and Thursdays. I'm not plugging Mission Critical Podcast. You can watch it. You don't have to watch it. You do you. But we do those podcasts on Mondays and Thursdays. So I think it just makes more sense. Get the studio set up, do my live stream for Centerline Systems, and I'll get 30 minutes to an hour, retool everything, and then just go into the Mission Critical Podcast. So I think the way going forward is I'm going to try to do these Mondays and Thursdays. And as I've said in the past, I won't always be able to do this. I mean, it just all depends on how crazy the day is. And then my one last little other little comment, I guess, just to kill a little bit of time before we jump right into it, is I want to just very quickly talk about something that I think a lot of people have experienced recently. And I call it quicksand. And I don't even remember where I first got it, but you get those moments where you're just frozen, right? You're sitting there and things are going on. The day sucks. Life isn't happening the way you want it to be. And you just get frozen in time. You're just stuck right there. Quicksand. It's a real thing. I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about, or you've experienced something like that. I'm just trying to bring that up because, that happens in our day-to-day grind. You're stressed out. Oh, I've got to get this done. And then you freeze for a second. Well, that can happen in real life, in real situations where those seconds count or minutes count. So whenever I'm just throwing this out there, because I just had it happen to me just last week, just kind of froze for a second, like, oh, man, you got to power your way through it. Force your brain and do it like I do it by saying things out loud, like, whether it's a task and then you do this and then you do this and then you do this. Some other action usually helps get that brain jump started when you find yourself in quicksand. Don't panic. You can fight your way out of it. And the more you realize those situations, if it ever does happen to you in a life or death situation, that can make the difference because seconds count. So, and I know everything's crazy in the world right now. So hell, half of us are probably finding ourselves in quicksand every day. So, hey, on that note, all right, our guest is there. I think he can see and hear us. All right, we'll be coming over to you soon, sir. Let me just get this going, and then we'll bring you on. So, hey, we make a couple different variety of belts over here at Centerline Systems. We make our regular 1.5-inch everyday carry. It's what we call EDC belt. Then we make a 1.75 Sherpa belt. And even though it's not on the website and I've got to get over there, I'm just going to combine our Sherpa belt and our everyday or EDCP. The P was for plus of 1.75. I'm going to bring those back over, but I just kind of want to show you something here right now. So this is our 1.5-inch belt, right? And this is actually, I just found this material not too long ago. You may remember that little contest I did, but coyote brown buckle. We've got different sizes. And what I really am trying to do here is I bring this up is you can see maybe my knuckles and my fingers. Look how I'm really trying to squeeze down on that. And it's not bending at all. But that's the north-south rigidity. But on the east-west, it's nice. It's comfortable. It's pliable. It's not like wearing a steel circle around your waist. And they're casual, they're practical, and they're tactical. So matter of fact, before I get into the other things, let me just kind of share something with you here. This is going to be a little embarrassing for me. That's me after I left the agency. That was probably about 2 years after I left the agency. So just let me go to the next picture. Casual. Like I want a belt, a solid, just standard black belt. Look, I'm wearing that. That was like Hugo Boss suit. I used to have cool suits. I used to be skinny, in great shape. But I'm wearing, and here's the close-up. I just did that stupid picture of me so you didn't think I was lying here. But here, and I'll just bring that full view. Yeah, right there. Look, That's one of our normal everyday carry belts being worn with a super expensive suit. And the reason that picture was taken, because somebody was like, you know, they expected me to have some kind of crazy ass belt. And I'm like, no, I'm just wearing the belt I make for my company. And there it is. So it looks good. So there's the casual, right? Wear it with a pair of blue jeans. You know, here's a law enforcement officer sent me this picture. You know, he's just wearing it with his kind of everyday casual wear. He's a sergeant, you know, working investigations. So his uniform's a little bit different. But I mean, so again, if you're in that line of work, that's another way that it comes into play. Here is a former Army Ranger still doing the good fight. Now he got his in Ranger green. I don't know if that was a thing going on. I think, you know, the standard military belt has to be coyote brown now. But anyway, so it works in your duty uniforms as well. You know, so there's the casual, practical, and tactical. Now, I'll come, you know, actually, yeah, let me just come back to that in a second. Let me just minimize this. Give me a second. Yeah, come back to me. So that actually is the concealment belt we make for Black Scout Survival. And I'll get to that in a second. So you already saw pictures of our 1.5 belts, inch belts. They're all over the website. I'm not going to really rehash that too much. I'm going to go over some options in a second. But then the other belt, and I get a lot of questions on this, so I just kind of wanted to take 3 seconds and talk about this. So this is my Sherpa belt with my hunting rig on it. And I kind of just want to get this, and I've got a Y harness on there. That's why it's a little floppy. But if you look at that, at the belt buckle, so this is a 1.75, and all of that extra tip. So the Sherpa belt is designed over large because I'm assuming you're going to put it on over a couple layers of clothing, right? I apologize, everybody. I didn't have the comments up. All right. Bug out. Hello. Learn me something. Yep. Love the concealment belt. Humble Cowboy. I don't think we've seen you before. Thanks for joining us. You know what? I actually just had somebody. So Humble Cowboy's asking, saying, here's a popular idea. Straps for Garmin tactical watches. I actually did have somebody ask me to do a replacement on their watch strap. You know, that's a special type of material. The material I use isn't quite right, but that's not a bad idea. And maybe I'll look at getting some special material. We'll go down that road in the future. Elf 35, 33 or 53. Yeah, I'll tell a story. His comment was, I purchased one of those cheap POS belts, like you mentioned in one of your old belt videos. I'll tell a story about that. Humble Cowboy, thank you for loving the gear. All right, back on this though. So this, the Sherpa belt is designed to be worn outside of your clothing. Now you can wear it as a normal belt, but if you do that, I recommend our EDCP. And though it's not on the website right now, it will be. And I'll show you the similarity between our EDCP and a belt we make for Black Scout Survival. But on the outside of the Sherpa belt, we got loops. This isn't designed to be, I had somebody once like, oh, tactical belts went backwards in time. It's not designed to be a tactical belt. That's not what this is. It's worn outside of your garment. I'm thinking, well, do you see mine? I'm wearing it over 2 or 3 layers of clothing. It's got all my exterior hunting stuff on there with my Y harness. But that belt tip is over large, right? And it's designed that way because I don't know exactly how many layers of clothing you're going to be wearing. And as such, you might need a little bit more room there. Whereas our normal belts are sized. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to measure yourself, whatever your pant size is. Now, there are some pant companies that are lying about pant sizes nowadays, but the belt is designed. We put a lot of thought and effort. So all you have to do, this is my belt size, see the sizing chart, and then figure out which one is good for you. And now I know this is a subject that a lot of people don't like. But again, if you don't like it, tune out or stop watching the video. But everyday carry. I do have a lot of customers who reach out to me about everyday carry, and you know, we all have to start someplace. So I'm more than welcome, you know, more than willing to work with people. And if you're willing to talk about inside the waistband, outside the waistband, appendix, hip, 5, you know, there's all kinds of single stack, double stack. So there's a lot of variables that go into it on the sizing thing. So if you're doubting something, just reach out to me and I'll let you know. Now, before I go over to the Black Scout belts, I just want to point out another thing. So we use, so all of that webbing, so that's 55301. Our outer and inner webbing is 55301. And then our inner webbing is what is commonly referred to as scuba, which is 550575. And, you know, I'm just going to throw this out there in response to Elf. Yeah, one of those cheap POS belts. Yeah, if you're working with a company and they can't rattle that mil-spec nomenclature off, well, then it's probably not real American-made mil-spec webbing right there. But the one thing that we do use that is not made in America, but it is Berry compliant, is the awesome Cobra buckle from Austria Alpine. Often imitated, definitely ripped off by foreign adversaries more than once. I've even had in the past, somebody bought a cheap ass belt from some company calling themselves, saying Cobra buckles. And somehow those people were reaching out to me wondering where their order was. So I don't know what those crazy ass people were doing that way back in the day, but pretty shady stuff. But Cobra buckles from Austria Alpine, they're awesome buckles. I think they're the best out there. I'm not dogging anybody else. And I know there's an American company that's making an equivalent, but I just really like the Austria Alpine buckle, and it is very compliant. They normally come in anodized black, and Austria Alpine does offer some color options, but I like working with our friends over at Fog Firearms out in Walker, Minnesota, and they do our Cerakoting for us. And what that gives us is, so this is one of the buckles in Coyote Brown, and that's got Black Scout Survival's logo on it as well. So this is all Cerakoted. So that gives us just a lot more options. And here's another one that we do, pretty popular. We call this Ghost Camo. That's probably not going to show up quite as good, but that's green with black islands. That's kind of designed to blend in, with your multicam black, as you can kind of see right there. You got a lot of the same color patterns and the islands on there. And then finally, over on the 1.75, so the Sherpa, for me and me only, Centerline Systems, the Sherpa belt and the EDCP. This apparently wasn't a very popular color combo, but we still have some of those remaining. And it's just a swamp green. So Blake and those guys out there figured out a way to combine a couple different Cerakote colors, and we have our own special color called swamp green. And here, I'll put it up against multicam black. See, I personally like this one a little bit more with the multicam black. It wasn't quite as popular with you guys though. So, I still have a bunch of them left, but we may discontinue this color going forward. Let me just take a quick break here and look and see if we got any cool comments here. I need to lie about my belt size. Alf, that's between you and your belt and your pants, I guess, So yeah, humble cowboy, straight up Kadura or nylon would be awesome and durable for the straps. Actually, humble cowboy, a quick little side note then. Shoot me an email. It's mark@center-line-systems. Dash or a hyphen, however you want to look view that. But shoot me an email about that, and maybe I will kind of start looking into. There is some other material that's very durable, and because I have had people asking me to make straps, so not a bad idea there, humble cowboy. Not a bad idea. All right, there we go. I think we've caught up on all the comments here so far. Well, actually, one quick little thing. Just I got to do it. Elf 3553. Yeah, those old POS belts. So when I first started Centerline, I did some shows, like some gun shows and some outdoor trade shows, fairs, that kind of stuff. And I don't know what was in me this one day, but I had this young gentleman in front of me with his, his family and his girlfriend. It may have been her family, something like that. And he was saying, hey, and I'm not dogging on any other company. You do you. I'm going to do me. And that's mil-spec, very compliant materials made in America. But he had a belt from another company, and he was like, yeah, this is the third one I've had in a year and a half. And each of those belts was like 60, 70 bucks. My belt's $100. And, I've got people who've been wearing my belts before we were even a company, a gear company. I was making belts for the training side that we were going to do. And anyway, and I'm like, yeah, so you've already spent, $180 in a year and a half. And you could have bought one of my belts, which will last you. Like, we've got people who've been running belts for 7, 10 years now. You do you, but to me, that's, I like my math better. And I said I would give him a deal on one of his belts if he let me cut his belt in half right in front of him, so he would never wear it again. Everybody thought that was funny except for him. So a little story right there going on. Now I just want to show you a quick, some stuff about the belts we make for Black Scout Survival. A quick little background, and then I'm going to be bringing in over TMAC Tactical here in a couple seconds. So Jack, Black Scout Survival, a lot of his, customer base, the people are interested in just, like more on the personal defense, gray man, illegal, well, how do I want to call it? Like if you were illegally detained, or if you, well, and look, let's just be honest. If you do foreign travel, I mean, hostage for ransom or tourist hostages, there's a different way of saying that. It's actual thing, you just go and kidnap people for ransom, tourists, and you make a pretty good money off of it. But no matter, or if you're in the military, if you're in law enforcement, there's a wide variety of reasons where you might have to have access to surreptitious entry tools or just tools in general. I'll just leave it at that. In my previous life, I actually had a lot of clothing that had a lot of concealments built into the clothing, or obviously. So when Jack and I were talking, he's like, hey, I want to do this. And there were some other products out there and they were just adding pouches to the outside. Well, that's never going to stand far scrutiny or close scrutiny. So I was thinking about, like, if you're bound to the front or bound to the rear, you want to, and if somebody's looking at it, and I don't want to get too deep into the weeds. Like if I actually kidnapped you, you would be naked. Like you've got those first couple minutes when you're in the vehicle to escape. Otherwise it's game over. And I'll just leave it at that. But those first couple minutes could be crucial. So you want to be able, and if you were, secured in the front or secured in the rear, you would want to be able to access a compartment. And that's what Jack and I came up with over at Black Scout Survival. Here, actually, let me just do the slide again real quickly. So that's one of the deployment tabs or concealment pockets. There's a tab in there, right? And I'll show this in a second. And that tab allows you to hide a bunch of items inside. And there's 2 pockets on both versions of the belt we make for him, the 1.5 and the 1.75 inch belt. But so again, you can just see a key, a flash drive, money. Think if you were doing foreign travel, you could just take a photocopy of your passport, fold it up nice and neat and put it in there, and then you always have it. I'm not going to lie. For me, oftentimes it's just, let's just be real, right? I'm not a cool guy anymore. I don't have to worry about that. A quarter. So here's the concealment pocket up in the front of the belt, and right there, that's the deployment tab. So you would actually pull this tab, and then the contents of whatever would come out as the tab's being pulled this way. It's spilling the contents into your hand. And I just wanted to point out, upside down and backwards, it's more than enough room for a quarter. So just think about this. You live in an urban environment. There's always, pesky, parking meters everywhere you need to go. So carry a couple quarters with you. If you're doing travel, whether it's foreign travel or whatever, and you're in areas where maybe there won't be as much, modern technology. Maybe you don't have access to your phone, service, where the case is. Why not have, in the back pocket, why not have an extra $50 bill or $100 bill? Like anyone's got an extra one of those lying around anymore, nowadays. But you get my point, right? So you've got a spot in the rear and a spot in the front where you can put conceal smaller devices that might be, instrumental to your day-to-day. Again, whether it's parking in an urban environment, having some extra cash in case you lose your wallet at, a night of debauchery out in the town with the boys, at the bar, or just having a spare house key in there, et cetera, et cetera. You do you, but that gives you more options. It's the same belt that we make over on our side, except for Jack over on Black Scout Survival. We add those deployment tabs. All right, just want to show off his logo real quickly, because it is a pretty kick-ass logo right there. And then last but not least, and then I'll get to some questions here in a second, and then we'll bring on Tom. But this is the 1.75 inch version belt, the Pistolero. I'm not 100% sure. I can't speak for Jack, but we may discontinue this belt. So, reach out to Jack. I got to be careful there, because I don't want to speak for the man, but it's a 1.75 with a D-ring, right? And then we've got a little D-ring enclosure thing here to keep the D-ring from just kind of inadvertently popping open on you. If you want a D-ring belt, I'm not going to lie. I like the 1.75 better than the 1.5, but all of my gear is tooled for 1.5. So I've either got to just get all kinds of new wings for all my holsters, et cetera, et cetera. But for me, because of my back issues, this 1.75 actually is more comfortable for me than my 1.5. And I love my 1.5, but I'm just getting older and my back's out. And then the only kind of difference you see here between the Pistolero belt and the 1.5s, and hopefully that'll show up. It's kind of hard on the multicam black, but the 2 concealment pockets are back to back facing in the opposite directions in the center of the belt. And we had to do that. So right there, these are the deployment tabs right here. And if you want to see how that stuff works, he's got a bunch of videos over on his side. So go give Black Scout Survival a holler. Go check out his videos, and he shows how all this stuff works. Gives you some little tricks on, kind of reloading and stuff. But on this one, we have to have the pockets facing in opposite directions in the center rear. And that simply is because in order to place this little constrictor tab there that holds the D-ring in place, to do that, just from a construction perspective, I don't know if I can jam this thing through here. But just to do that from a construction perspective, it actually would interfere where that pocket would be on the front as it is on the 1.5s. All right, I'm going to take a little break, read a couple questions. Those are our lines of belts. You can see them on the website. We've got a bunch of different Cerakoted colors. We only use Austria Alpine Cobra buckles. Thank you guys. You guys are awesome up there. Al's a great man. Then we got our friends Blake and Pat over at Fog Firearms and Walker, who do our Cerakoting for us. And then all of our other material, again, it's 55301 or 550575. So real mil-spec webbing, right? Not some, wet noodle of a belt. And we'll get into that in a second. I'm about to bring Tom TMAC on. They just take a quick look at any comments. Let me just see here. Okay, we'll start off with Alf saying he needs to lie about his belt size. Go from there. Emergency code humble cowboy. I'm not sure what that means. We'll skip on. I don't know if I'll read that one out loud. New Wrangler. All right, welcome to the. I wear the. Yeah, okay. I think I know who that company is. I'm not gonna, again, I don't have any of their products. I don't know. I do know that I stand by everything that we make. And I love these belts. And so actually Jeremy over on Mission Critical podcast, he's still wearing one of the original belts, which was designed a little bit differently because it was way more for concealed carry because it was like training courses. It's the same belt, but it had a couple little different tweaks to it. And he just showed that to me just like a month ago. And that thing it's got a really cool patina on it now, but it is still as rigid on the north-south and as soft on the east-west as possible, right? So casual, practical, and tactical. On that note, I'm going to bring in Tom, are you ready, sir? Yeah, I got the wave. All right, we're going to bring on a special guest. So you don't just hear it from me thinking that, oh, what the hell does Mark know? Let's bring on a man who knows a little something, right? Tom, welcome to the live stream. Can you tell everybody a little bit about yourself and why in the hell should we listen to you about belts?
All right. Well, I don't know if you should solely listen to me, but my name is Tom McMahon. I'm the owner and instructor at TMAC Tactical Firearms Training. We are based here in New Jersey. So that's a bit of a challenge sometimes being in New Jersey and being a firearms instructor or dealing anything with firearms in the state of New Jersey. I've been doing this now as my own company. It's coming on just about 5 years in May. And I've also just started working recently with some of my friends and their company called Readiness Training Group. And we'll talk a little bit more about them, later on. When it comes to the belts, I've tried a bunch of different belts, and some of them are POS belts that you just try because, there's a lot of stuff out there and there's so many different companies. But ultimately, when I came across your belt, and I have the same exact belt that you had in that James Bond-esque photo of yourself. I have the 1.5 EDC belts, and it is in black, and I specifically chose the color so that it has a multi-purpose. It can be used if I'm on the range. It could be used like in the case, and I don't have a Hugo Boss suit as fine as the one you were wearing in that photograph, but
mine doesn't fit me anymore, sir. I'll give it to you. You've got a better chance of wearing it now than I do.
But I got it specifically for that reason, so that it can be worn on a range with, whatever clothes I happen to be, my normal range wear that I would typically wear, not worrying about it getting dirty. And I could also wear it if I was wearing some better looking clothes. If I was going out somewhere, and no one would be the wiser because it is a straight up black belt. I love the buckle that's on it. I love that Cobra buckle that you put on it, because a lot of places do not do that. And one thing for sure is the rigidity. It is durable. Man, nothing is coming off of that belt at all.
So can you, and I'm glad you just mentioned that, because that was going to be one of my main questions, for everybody, watching that. And we're not giving, this isn't designed to be a class or anything, but Tom, from your experience, right, as a man who's teaching other people the firearm fundamentals, firearm safety, possibly, the what they need to accomplish to potentially defend themselves and their family. Why is that rigidity important? Why not just put on a rope around your waist or a wet noodle?
So great question, and I see it all the time in classes, whether it's a class that I'm teaching, it's a class my friends are teaching. or it's a class I'm actually taking, because I continuously take classes all the time, and I see it happen. A lot of students come to a class, and first of all, most of the students I get are relatively like beginners, so they don't know a lot about the equipment. So I'm always, trying to give them some advice as to, various types of equipment that's out there, and then ultimately they're going to make the decision. But I'm always telling them why you should look for this, or look for something else. Not just saying because I said so. It's not like the old school parent, hey, just do it because I told you to do it. It's more a matter of here are the factors and the reasons why you should be looking for certain aspects and characteristics of belts, or any other equipment for that matter. A lot of times we'll have people come in and they're rocking like the Kohl's leather belt, super thin. It is bendable. And listen, I have them too, and I wear them to work most days because I can't carry, and I'm not, not using anything else at that point. But they're okay to hold your pants up. If you're trying to do anything else with them, they're not going to work. A lot of times we'll see people in class and they will go to draw, and they have their holster, whether it is with clips, like metal clips to attach the holster to the belt, or it's a paddle, or anything else for that matter. They will go to draw, and in some cases it will get hung up. Half of it will come off, and it'll be canted when it's not supposed to be canted. And then they don't get a proper draw stroke on it, or it just completely gets messed up. And then that can be dangerous, obviously. I've seen people go to draw, and they legitimately, like, the entire holster comes with the handgun. And when they don't even realize it until it's too late, and they go to punch out and they look and they realize that the holster is still attached and the gun never actually came off of it. So the rigidity aspect of it is essential. Your belts definitely have it. They fit in standard belt loops. I haven't had any issue whatsoever. The belt is, I would say, thick enough without being like too thick to get through the belt loops. The 1.5, at least, like I said, that's the one I have, and that thing works great in all different kinds of pants that I have, regardless of whether I'm wearing jeans, I'm wearing like some sort of like cargo pants, anything whatsoever. And honestly, the overall, like, just rigidity, it gives enough flexibility to wrap around you and contour to your body. But when you're going, like you said, in that north-south axis, and that thing is rock solid. It's not going it's not bending. It's not folding in half like a lot of the standard cheap leather belts, or like any other kind of material that isn't just reinforced with the way you're making it.
And I do think that, and everybody watching, I'm sure you either have a belt of your own, or you've seen a buddy's belt. Again, that those super thin, and it doesn't. So Tom, I guess where I'm going with this is, and then it doesn't have to be concealed carry or open carry. It could also just be like your gear. Like if you're working, any type of occupation where you have gear around your waist.
Yep.
The flimsier that is. How many belts have you, the viewer watching this live with us now, or on demand later, where your belt is all twisted and that's because that belt doesn't have that north-south rigidity. There are a bunch of companies who run just scuba webbing. Well, and then I guess I'll come to, it doesn't necessarily have to come to Tom and come to everybody else. Well, if you've seen just scuba webbing, right, it's very porous. That gives you, that's the stiffener. But in of itself, it's abrasive, maybe you're not wearing a t-shirt or something underneath, that belt starts rubbing against your skin. That's kind of a real pain in the ass, right? So I think the way we were trying to solve that, to your point, Tom, is I very much knew the value of north-south, rigidity. So I wanted that, but I wanted a belt, as we were kind of talking about, I could wear with my blue jeans, if I was wearing khakis, if I was wearing a suit, whatever it is, I had a belt. Heck, let's just not even lie about this. So again, this is just one of my kind of like show belts here, same thing on that rigidity, but this in and of itself with that Cobra buckle, if that's all I had, I'm here to tell you, this is like a whip. This is a weapon in of itself if you had to use it for personal defense. And just even, wrapping it around. I'm not saying that you're going to use this to punch people, but if you're thinking about like sharp edges and things of this nature, this is definitely going to help, repel and keep that at bay. Whereas opposed to if you're just running, one of those belts you're talking about, you might as well just take a piece of rope. And I'm sure some people know, folks. I know a couple who do exactly that. They're just like, yeah, I just need something to hold my pants up. They just go get some cool piece of braided rope and they wear it as a belt. I guess that's a thing nowadays, but that's not what I would ever vouch for. And that's because I wear a lot of gear, right? I'm wearing gear right now. I've got an OC on one side and one of our belt pouches on the other. So I think Tom kind of going to that. So is it just on the, everyday carry side? It doesn't have to be kinetic.
It is for anything.
Yeah,
it can honestly be used for anything.
Well, so on that note, from your, with your interaction with students, right? Because this isn't necessarily, I don't want this to be a Centerline Systems love fest. It is my live stream. So, whatever.
Well, I mean, I use it also. I use it with a lot of your other gear too. Like, I got tuned into you on the Mother Canteen carrier. That was my first, for those of you that, maybe don't go through the entire website because you're only looking for EDC gear. You make some amazing gear. It is top quality.
But where I'm trying to lead us to is, again, and I kind of sidebarred us there a little bit, but there's so many other items that other people carry on their waistline: flashlights, med pouches, phone cases, X, Y, Z. I mean, so it doesn't necessarily, look, this, and even though for everybody watching, this is just a little training weapon, it's a laser pistol, you can tell, but this has the real weight of a handgun. Now, this loaded, and this is a double stack, mid-frame handgun. So there's some weight on this. If you are using that spaghetti noodle of a belt, well, just no matter what, over time, that's just going to compress. It's going to leave those dents, and everybody knows what I'm talking about. So even if you're just carrying flashlights, med kits, X, Y, and Z, if you think a belt just holds up your pants, that's fine if that's all you're using it for. But what about other gear? That's kind of where I was going right there, sir.
Totally. Yeah. So, it could be a knife. I mean, depending on where you're at, you might be walking property. If you own property and you have a, fixed blade, it's good for that. Flashlights, the huge deal. I mean, everyone thinks just having a flashlight mounted to their weapon is all you need. And you're not, it's good. It's good to have that, but you should have multiple flashlights, not just the one that's mounted to the weapon. So that's another thing that really works well. Get a proper case for it. If you don't have one, that's, something. Hell, walking through the woods, you can have another case with a little handheld saw in there, potentially. Sometimes I'll walk property and I actually have a small hatchet with a belt, a secure belt mount. And it works great with that as well, because that's, slightly heavier. Obviously, it's not a huge one that I'd mount to a pack. It's actually it's made to be on a belt or a small pack. So you want the sturdiness, the rigidity, so that belt is not sagging, it's not collapsing on you, and then it becomes like the string belt that you were just talking about that some people might be holding up, some pants with.
Right
so
on.
I don't recommend that.
Nope, no, sir. No bueno.
Unless you have absolutely nothing else to hold your pants up, I would not recommend it.
Well, yeah, then it just becomes a matter of technique at that point, right?
Yeah.
So hey, casual, practical, tactical. That's what we're pushing for. You can see that I've got a whole bunch of videos up on our website. Go check that out. You can see the different colors. If you want something else Cerakoted, I highly recommend you reach out to Fog Firearms, Walker, Minnesota. Tom, I want to come back to you. We're trying to do the live streams kind of short, but I want to give you an opportunity to maybe promote a little bit about that other side of your world that you got going on, and give you a few seconds to tell everybody a little bit more.
Thank you, Mark. I really appreciate that. So my buddies at it's called Readiness Training Group, and you could find them at readinesstraininggroup.com on their website.
Hey, I'm sorry. And can you do the same thing for you? We failed to do that. Where can people find you?
Sure. So I'm mostly, I have Facebook and Instagram, and my website. I'm at TMACTactical.com, and on Facebook and Instagram, I'm at TMAC Tactical. And so that's my personal company. And now I've kind of hooked up and I work with my buddies at Readiness Training Group. So it's known as RTG. And that's at Readiness Training Group on Instagram and Facebook, and readinesstraininggroup.com. So we run a program for school resource officers, It is free for school resource officers. So we do basically get donations from people, whether it be businesses, whether it be private donations that we get from individuals. And what we try to do is we try to provide training in 3 different areas. We do firearms training, we do breaching, and we do medical training that hopefully no one ever has to use. But we want people prepared so that in the event that it has to be used, they can do all 3. It is extremely important to all of us. I am a high school teacher. That's my day job. And I also do firearms training. My friends at RTG, they are police officers, SWAT team members. So this is also important, very important to them, because so it hits close to home for all of us, just coming from 2 sides of the that coin of the issue. So we do this in the summer before the school year starts. We usually do it in like mid-August, before the school resource officers have to start their, if you want to say, the school year in most cases. And it, like I said, they just have to register. They don't have to pay a dime, nothing. Food is taken care of. All the training is taken care of. We all volunteer our time. And we do that through donations. So if anyone out there is able to do that or spread the word, it would be greatly appreciated. If you know businesses, if you know school districts that are willing to donate money, like I said, the SROs, all they need to do is register and get to the training, which is held in New Jersey, and everything else is taken care of for them at that point. So I appreciate you allowing me to get that out there, Mark.
Well, and so this is live now, and I'm going to ask you maybe where I'll get a link or something. So when this comes up, I'll embed it actually in the narrative, or the body of the video, and where people can go. Because so just a kind of last plug for you guys. So over on Mission Critical podcast, we're talking about be the difference. And I know there's all kinds of controversy with law enforcement in America today, and people can go back and forth on that. But I think the common denominator, the common ground we could all have here is that student resource officers, the individuals in our schools that are there who could potentially save the lives of innocent children. And let's just, the other honest part about it is like, how much training do people get, right? So when it comes to a piece of gear, great, a piece of gear is great, but you also have to know how to do that and how to properly employ that. And that's what Tom and the guys at Readiness Training Group are trying to do, because it's a damn good cause, and they're trying to be the difference in their community. So I have nothing but a huge thumbs up and applause for what you guys are doing out there. That's
really
awesome.
Really appreciate that, Mark. Thank you very much. And thank you in advance for anyone who either donates or just at a minimum spreading the word is greatly appreciated.
All right. So I'll get a little something from me and I'll put that in the video.
Sure.
We're going to wrap it up here. EDC belts. We've got a wide variety of them. Check out the website. I know Black Scout is in a transitory period right now, but I think he still has stuff up on the website, or he's about to have things back on the website. Whether you're hunting, camping, hiking, taking a walk downtown, it's all about being prepared and having the right tools for the trade. And if you're going to, in my humble opinion, if you're going to carry one of these things, even though it is our constitutional right, I'll agree with that and defend that all day long. But you've got to be prepared. You got to be trained. You got to know what you're doing. And the guys like Tom over at TMAC TACTICAL and Readiness Training Group are taking their experience and their expertise, and they're trying to help other people in their community. And that's just a damn good thing. And that's what I personally think each and every one of us should be striving for. Tom, that was my kind of closing comment. So what do you got? Let's give you a closing comment here.
I appreciate that. I appreciate the open format to allow us to share like-minded, with like-minded people, some of the ideas and skills and gear, because a lot of people don't know about gear. I would say to anybody out there watching, buy once, get something quality. Mark used that example, that one dude buying 3 times. He spent more money than he would have if he just bought a quality piece of gear right up front. So there's always, and not that this is, a crazy amount of money, but buy once, cry once, right? Get something good, invest in quality equipment. And then even more importantly, invest in quality training, because all the equipment, you could be Gucci'd out and not know how to use anything. So get quality training.
You're making me smile. My final comment, well, on this part, yeah, you could have the most bright, shiny thing in the world. But if you don't know how to use it, it's just a heavy. It's another rock in your rucksack at that
doesn't
point.
work. Yeah, it doesn't help at all.
No,
so
not a
get
bit.
the training and get out there and consistently train.
Right on. All right. Well, we're trying to keep these things close to that 30, 40 minute mark. We're at 40. Sir, Tom, really appreciate it. Really like what you guys are doing out there at Readiness Training Group and what you're doing. You're a good man, sir. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to be here. Thanks to all the men and women who took the time out of their day to join stupid knuckleheady me on this live stream. We really appreciate it. I got one last comment. Typo. I'm not sure, Elf. Hopefully you didn't swear in something I just popped up on the screen by mistake, but whatever. Hey, but just thanks to everybody who took their time to watch this. Yeah, get some good gear, and if you're going to have a belt and if you're going to carry, it doesn't have to be my belt, but if your belt doesn't have that north-south rigidity, you really should be taking a step back, maybe asking Tom or other people who are in that world as instructors, hey, does this really make a difference? Yeah, there it is. Call bullshit on me. Start asking people, does your belt make a difference? Let's see what kind of responses you get. What do you think, Tom? What's the over under on that?
I agree on that. It's, you got to call it like it is.
Right on. All right, everybody. Thank you so very much for watching us tonight. As always, the deal. Reach out anytime if you got questions, comments. I'll do the best I can to help you out. I'll put some info in there for Readiness Training Group and what they got going on, and Fog Firearms. If you're, look, you might have a water bottle you want it Cerakoted, right? They do great work out there. So I'll put some links in there for those guys. If you got questions, comments, I already said that. Reach out anytime. Until then, keep thinking, keep moving, never quit. All right, everybody, be good.